investigation. Meantime, President Trump calls for another look into the Hillary Clinton email scandal. Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Harris joins us now with this story. Good evening, Catherine.
Thank you, Brett. Newly released emails show Clinton aide Huma Abedin sent security passwords for sensitive government networks to her unsecured Yahoo account. In a tweet, President Trump unloaded on Abedin, alleging she disregarded basic security, put classified passwords at risk. And he suggested she should be jailed and once again criticized what he calls the deep state Justice Department, imploring officials to finally act against Abedin, former FBI Director Comey, and others. The White House press secretary explained.
Obviously, the facts of that case are very disturbing, and I think the president wants to make clear that he doesn't feel that anyone should be above the law.
April 2016 FBI interview overseen by demoted agent Peter Strzok, who sent anti-Trump text messages, Abedin admitted she routinely forwarded government emails to her Yahoo account for printing. The Abedin emails found on her estranged husband Anthony Weiner's computer are significant because they led the FBI to reopen the criminal investigation 10 days before the election, Brett.
So is there more fallout over this New York Times story that the Trump campaign ad, George Papadopoulos, started the FBI Russia probe by talking to the Australians?
Well, that's right. Australian media reports today there is anger and frustration over leaks by U.S. officials revealing an Australian diplomat shared intelligence that may have kick-started the FBI Russia probe. According to the Sydney Morning Herald, the Australian ambassador to the U.S., Joe Hockey, personally dealt with the FBI over claims the Russians had damaging information on Hillary Clinton. The New York Times first reported that campaign aide George Papadopoulos, who recently pled guilty to lying to the FBI, made the allegations in May 2016 over drinks in London with diplomat Alexander Downer. On Fox today, a senior House Republican said the report is a distraction from the faulty Trump dossier funded by Democrats.
Clearly, people are trying to say, oh, don't worry about the dossier, there were these other things. I'm not sure that the Papadopoulos explanation is really any better. In fact, it's probably thinner than even the dossier.
Based on Fox's reporting, a mosaic of intelligence, not a single source, prompted the FBI probe, Brett.
Continue to follow it. Kathy, thank you.
You're welcome.
Up our news this half an hour right now, a disturbing new report about Hillary Clinton's email scandal. Clinton aide Huma Abedin forwarded sensitive emails and passwords that contained government passwords to her Yahoo account, according to the Daily Caller. Yahoo suffered a massive breach in 2013, you remember, affecting billions of accounts. The president just tweeted about this. Here's what President Trump said this morning. Crooked Hillary Clinton's top aide, Huma Abedin, has been accused of disregarding basic security protocols. She put classified passwords into the hands of foreign agents. Remember sailors, pictures on submarine? Jail. Exclamation point. Deep State Justice Department must finally act. Also on Comey and others. Joining us right now to work through all of this and talk it through is former Chief of Staff under Bill Clinton and McLarty Associates Chairman Mac McLarty. Mac, it's good to see you, sir. Happy New Year to you.
Well, Maria, Happy New Year to you and to Dagan, the visionary, and your other panelists there. I'm delighted to be with you.
Thank you so much. So your reaction to this story on a serious matter, Mac, I mean, we continue to talk about this email scandal because we know that there's impact. And Huma Abedin, now we learn, forwarded all of these documents with passwords to her Yahoo account. What's your reaction?
Maria, it is a serious matter. This is kind of Groundhog Day. We've talked a lot about emails, and what it really suggests, we're in a new era with emails, the way we communicate. Privacy is an issue, hacking, and that's how these came to light. I think all of them have to be fairly investigated and done so in a timely manner. That includes the Russia investigation as well, and I think the American public is ready to get this done and move forward. But I think it is a serious matter. You can't dismiss it.
But, you know, I mean, I started the show off during the commercial break talking to my colleagues here about the rule of law and how important it is, Mac, that the American people trust agencies like the FBI, trust agencies like the CIA, like the IRS, for example. If you can't trust that the people running the IRS are actually doing their job based on fact, based on accuracy, and not based on their political leanings, if you've got all these people in the FBI who were complicit, they were changing the language in what Hillary Clinton did. Meanwhile, their wives are getting money from, for their Senate campaigns, et cetera. I mean, how do you turn this ship around, Mac, when you've got all these agencies obviously politicized?
Trust in public institutions is a cornerstone of democracy. I think the new director of the FBI, Christopher Wray, spoke very thoughtfully and seriously in his last congressional hearing. He talked about the Inspector General's report. I think that's one way to get to it. I think we have a new administration in charge. That's a turning of the page, so to speak, on some of these issues you're talking about. And, of course, congressional standing, Maria, as you and your panelists know, is also at a very low level. So this is a fundamental issue in our democracy. The only institution that really posed well right now is the military.
Speaking of the military, James Freeman here with the Wall Street Journal. People in the military obviously know that they can be disciplined very harshly and occasionally are for being reckless with classified information. We have this new story on Huma Abedin. And I'm wondering how this happened. Hillary Clinton in her memoir wrote about how careful they are supposed to be with sensitive information. When you observe and you know the Clintons well, why do you think there was such a recklessness? What do you think the reason for all of this, the private server and all of this mishandling of information was with the emails?
James, I'm not sure I'm ready to accept your premise of recklessness. I think we are in a new era regarding emails, just how we communicate. And bear in mind, this incident and others really come to light, not that it makes it any less serious if there's classified information involved, but came to light with hacking of emails. And that's a very different dynamic than we've seen in the last several years. So I think we've got to come to grips with all of that. But your point about getting the facts, what happened, why, and then if there does need to be appropriate action considered, I think that's fair.
Well, that's the point, though. I don't know how this is being followed up. And by the way, you say reckless. The initial words from Jim Comey himself was gross negligence, but that, of course, was changed to carelessness by Andrew McCabe, I believe. California Congressman and House Intelligence Committee Chairman, Mac, Devin Nunes, wants to expand the investigation of the Russian interference in the 2016 election. And he's reportedly accusing the Justice Department and the FBI of corruption when it comes to claims of the Trump dossier. Now, Nunes is doing this without the blessing of the GOP, but he's getting stonewalled. So you're saying, Mac, you believe, as we all do, a fair investigation needs to take place, but they're stonewalling him, Mac. They're not giving him what he's asking. So what do you think happens here? I mean, how's he supposed to deal with that?
Well, I think we have to be very careful here on both sides of the aisle, Maria, not to politicize this. Congressional oversight committees are fine, that they're set up to function properly. Right now, the Republicans have the chairmanship of those committees. And the head of the FBI was appointed by President Trump, as was Director Pompeo at the CIA, who is a very distinguished patriot and American, having served in the military, graduated West Point. So you've got some very respected people heading those particular agencies. And, of course, you've got former Alabama Senator Jeff Sessions, who's one of the earliest supporters of President Trump as our Attorney General to the Justice Department. But there's no question the Justice Department, as well as the FBI and the CIA, need to be responsive to these congressional inquiries. There's no question about that. We have several going on, as you well know, with the Burr Warner and Chairman Grassley's committee, as well as the Mueller investigation.
How will the public respond? You've got an election this year. Obviously, the right is going to be, riding and campaigning on an economy that they believe will continue to get better. But they're also going to be hitting this issue. Give us your sense of the 2018 election to come. Is it going to work for the stonewalling, for the obstructionism on the left to continue, Mac? Or you think voters are going to get upset with that or not?
I think voters likely will begin to turn that off some. I think credibility and trust are always important in any election. But people are really looking for members of Congress in these midterms elections. Of course, that runs to the White House as well. Who's going to make my life better? Who's going to make my life for my children and grandchildren better for the future? That's what I think voters are going to be focused on, and we'll see who makes the case. Right now, the Democrats have a modest advantage, it would seem, in some of the polling, but you point out about the economy getting a bit stronger. So it's a long way until election time. But my sense is there was a lot of discussion of the emails in the campaign, and people are ready to move on to the more serious issues as they see it affecting them, not only the economy, but we've got some very serious foreign policy issues and security issues. That's what I think will really dominate the elections, and it should, Maria. It should.
It's a good point. Mac, it's always a pleasure to have you on the program. Thanks so much.
And the process, that is separate and apart from the bias evidenced by at least 2 FBI agents.
So where does this lead? I mean, you've been stonewalled since August. You're finally getting documents last week and this week that you've been asking for since August. We know, for example, when you look at the Hillary Clinton side of things, her IT manager, Brian Pagliano, initially said he never deleted anything to the FBI. He told the FBI, I didn't delete anything. Then apparently has an aha moment that says, oh, wait, yes, I did delete emails from Hillary Clinton after we know that those emails were actually recovered, and he gets immunity. So he gets immunity despite the fact that he lied to the FBI, deleted emails, and didn't tell anybody that there were these emails that existed.
Well, there were several immunity agreements in the Clinton email investigation, and that's actually what House Judiciary and Oversight are doing together. We're not looking at Russia. That's House Intel Committee. But Judiciary and Oversight are looking at all the things that led up to Russia and whether or not the FBI and the Department of Justice handle this like they would any other case. And, Maria, quite frankly, I think the DOJ and the FBI would admit to you that they did things in this case that they had never done in any other one. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean a sinister or nefarious motive. It could just mean this was a really unusual fact pattern. But it's not illegitimate for us to ask. And I have been frankly stunned at how little curiosity my Democrat colleagues and how little curiosity some elements of the mainstream media have in the decisions that our nation's chief law enforcement agency and top prosecutors have made. It's all, you know, this time last year, Democrats wanted Comey prosecuted. Remember that?
Yes.
Harry Reid wanted him prosecuted. They were furious with the FBI, and now when we have a chance to go back and better understand the decisions they made and didn't make, there's a total lack of curiosity on behalf of my Democrat colleagues, which I just find stunning.
Even though we know that Jim Comey leaked confidential information with the whole intention of getting it out to the New York Times and getting a special prosecutor in place.
And that is just one of many questions I would like to ask former Director Comey. When you wanted special counsel with President Trump, you leaked things to the media. How about when Loretta Lynch asked you to refer to it as a matter and not an investigation? How about the meeting on the tarmac? How about the real reason that you took